Welcome to the Holistic Success Show. I'm Elizabeth Lozano.
And I'm Dr. Robert Puff. Today we're going to have a fitness guru talking about how to be holistically healthy with fitness.
We're also going to be watching clips from Dr. Puff on meditation.
And then we're going to have an interview question about how to deal with pain and live with that.
We're also going to be answering another question about emotional eating and how to deal with that.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you, and enjoy the show.
Today I want to talk about something very fascinating that was recently discovered with meditation. Researchers have known for many, many years that as we get older, our brains get smaller. We lose our capacity to think clearly. And as you know, as many people as they get older, they may get Alzheimer's, dementia, and basically our mental functioning decreases. Now, what's been recently discovered is we've looked at people that have been meditating for many, many years. And guess what we discovered? It's just fascinating. I love this. What they discovered is that people that meditate appear to have larger brains. And what I mean by that is we all know as we get older, our bodies start slowing down and we become weaker, not as vibrant as we were when we were a young child or a teenager. Well, our brain really works the same way. As we get older, our brain capacity, it still functions, but it doesn't function as well. Our brains, we actually lose gray matter as we get older. Our brains become not as healthy, as vibrant. But people that have been meditating for many, many, many years, that seems to almost abate. They don't lose their mental capacity. And their brain, particularly the front part of the brain, which really is affected by meditation, really keeps working and keeps active. So the wonderful thing about that, there's a lot you can extrapolate from that. But I think at its core, you can say, wow, meditation is good for my brain. It keeps me healthy, it keeps me alert. And I think a lot of people out there, my mother, got Alzheimer's as she got older. And I'm sure many of you fear that. And it runs, many people get dementia, they start forgetting things, and we get afraid of that. But now that the research is beginning to show that meditation is really a good practice for our brain, it keeps our brains alert, it keeps our brains active. Think about meditating as becoming part of your routine. Because people that meditate, their brains stay healthy, their brains stay active. And we can look at them and say, wow, you've been meditating, your brain looks very different than someone else who hasn't been meditating. So meditation is good medicine, good exercise for the brain. And if you want to have a healthy brain, if you want to have an active brain throughout your life, think about taking on meditation. It's really good for us.
This week's first question comes to us from Tanya G. from Chicago, Illinois, and she asks, I often find myself struggling with physical pain. What are your suggestions for pain management?
First, Tanya, I'm very sorry that you are struggling with pain. My heart goes out to you. It's a difficult thing to have to face and live with. And whether you're living with it for a day, a week, or a year, many people are going through what you're going through. So I'm hopeful that these answers that we give right now will be helpful for the listeners. The first thing you want to do is, make sure you're seeking medical advice. Can you alleviate the pain? Are there things that you can do to make it better? And then the next thing you want to do is learn about deep breathing. Because, what deep breathing does, think about when a woman that has a baby, they learn Lamaze. What do? They learn. It's amazing how well that works. As you know, I really enjoy it. I think meditation is a fabulous practice. So if you learn how to deep breathe, what you'll find is the pain gets better. And if I may share my own story, one time I was at a parking lot and I closed my door to my car and my thumb got stuck in the door, in between when it closed, and you can imagine how much that hurt. And it was an excruciating pain. I opened the door to get my thumb out. I hadn't broken anything, but I did this. I did that 2-3 times, and the pain was pretty much gone. So, what helps is, I think, learning how to keep your body fit makes the pain not as intense. When your body's fit, what happens is, let's say you exercise on a regular basis, you're releasing in your body what's called endorphins. And endorphins are natural painkillers. They really are good to help reduce the pain sensitivity. People that are really athletes tend to have a higher tolerance to pain. So if you take time to exercise, what you'll find is that will help alleviate the pain, and it will actually be better. It just isn't as intense. But probably the most important thing you can do is what I call not create a story. And what I mean by that first is, what you want to do is, you want to, when something's going on, there's always something you can focus on. Your mind really can only focus on one thing at a time. So let's say right now you're watching the show. Your pain actually may be better because you're watching the show. You're not thinking about the pain. And so there's always something. I love this, the saying I have is, there's always something beautiful to focus on. So choose to focus on something that isn't the pain. And what you'll find is it will get better, and it will dissipate. And part of that is not create a story. I want Elizabeth to talk about how you create a story and it makes it worse or better.
So in my own life, unfortunately, I had a back injury, and it was awful, excruciating pain. And I remember going to the doctor, and first I got stuck in the middle of my stairs. I couldn't walk, I couldn't move. I was like dropped to the floor in just horrific pain. And I went to the doctor, and they gave me muscle relaxers and Vicodin, right? So I'm taking this medicine, not making a difference at all. Like, I'm just in horrific pain. And for a while, there was a couple weeks where I was just in this excruciating pain in bed. I could not walk, I could not sit up, I couldn't even make it to the bathroom. I would literally have to crawl or have to get help to go to the bathroom because it was so awful. And in that time, I got really depressed, because to me in my head, I was like, my life is over. I can't dance, I can't walk, I can't even be in a wheelchair because I can't even sit up. I'm never gonna be able to have kids. I had all this stuff going through my head, and it made my pain way worse, because that's all I could focus on, was that not only am I in this pain, I'm gonna have it forever and my life is over. And that's the kind of story that Dr. Puff is talking about, because when you create that, how much more intense is that pain? Because now it's not just physical, it's psychological. And what goes on in here, our body and mind are so interconnected. And this pain that goes on here and here can cause way more physical pain. And really our fight to kind of get past it is really diminished. Fortunately, I was able to get help to deal with the pain, and there are things that I have to do. Sometimes I do have pain, but I have to kind of work through it, and I can't focus on it. So if I do focus on it, it makes it way worse. But I think what Dr. Puff was saying too, finding out what the root cause is, because pain is there to let you know that something isn't right. And obviously if you're giving birth to a child, that's the reason why you're having pain, but they work through it. It's focusing on your breath instead that helps you kind of through that. But if you're in pain, get help, figure out what's going on with that. Find a way to deal with that, because sitting there in pain and dealing with that, living that way is awful. And we're just trying to teach you other ways to kind of deal with it instead of just focusing on it.
And one last point I wanted to make too is, there's that rule I've talked about in other episodes, a rule of science saying, if there's a person on the planet that is able to have pain and still be happy, just one, that means it's a possibility. So there are people, I've known them, I have personally known them, that have lots of pain and they probably will have it the rest of their life, and yet they are happy. And they've been able to say, pain is just part. Remember the holistic, pain is just part of who I am. That is not who I am. And the other things, my family, my relationships, my work, whatever other things that are going on in your life, can really enrich your life. And if that's more of the focus and not that little segment of the pain, it really works well to find balance, even if you have to live with pain the rest of your life, because there are people out there that live with pain and still can find happiness and peace. So peace to you.
I'd like to introduce this week's guest. Her name is Rene Burton, and she is a fitness instructor for people over the age of 50, and she teaches a bunch of fabulous classes, which I will have her explain to you. And she also has these series of videos, which we're going to talk about at the end of the interview as well. So thank you so much for being a guest on our show.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good. Can you tell us a little bit about the work that you do and maybe how you got into it?
Well, the work that I do is teaching people over 50 how to get in shape, baby boomers and seniors, how to get in shape and stay in shape, because we all want to be healthy, and that's the goal. So I try to make my classes really fun. I have 3 different levels of classes. I teach arthritis class for people who are older and do have arthritis, and the people who have arthritis, they think they cannot take a class because they might hurt more, but that's the contrary. The opposite is really true. They will feel much better as they get their muscles and their bones moving. The other class that I teach is for more agile adults, and all my students are in my DVDs, so you can see what the progress that they've made and how great they look and how great they feel. So that's basically my program.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And I understand, looking, I went to your website, and I've also had the chance to meet you.
Yes.
So I know that you have an accreditation to actually teach people
Yes.
that have arthritis.
Yes, I do.
So how are these classes different? Because I think some people
Yes.
might be concerned, like you
Right.
said, is it okay for me to exercise?
Right.
So maybe you can share with us, how your classes are different, or what that accreditation is exactly.
Right. Well, the accreditation is from the certified by the National Arthritis Foundation, and the classes are a little bit different, even though I do include all the components that are necessary in my arthritis class as I do in my other classes, because everybody needs to do stretch and flexibility. Everybody needs balance, whether they have arthritis or not. Everybody needs a weight training because we lose bone and muscle mass by the age of 30 to 35. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, we start losing bone and muscle mass. So if we don't exercise as we age, we will lose more, and that's why people fall and break their hip, and then they end up in hospitals or nursing homes, which is a terrible place to be, and they're not independent anymore, and that's the whole purpose of my classes, to keep baby boomers, seniors, actually everybody, healthy and independent. So my arthritis classes, we start a little bit slower. They still do the same things. We do the stretching, which is really crucial to keep yourself limber and flexible. We do the weight training to build the bone and muscle mass, and we do balance exercises. And I do most of these things either sitting on a chair or holding on to the back of a chair. But you'd be surprised. These people who walk in the door at first and they can't do it, you'd be surprised in about 3 or 4 weeks what they can do. It's amazing. It's truly amazing, and I'm so proud of them. And I tell them all the time, I'm so proud of you guys that you're here, you're working, and you're doing this for yourself.
And I want to share, if I may, because looking at you, you look absolutely fabulous. And I know we don't have a full body shot, but this woman is amazing if you see her. So I know you're teaching lots of classes, getting a lot of physical exercises. And would you mind sharing how old you are?
Oh, not a problem at all. It comes to an age you don't mind talking about your age anymore. I'm 74, and I feel great. And I have energy, and that's the most important thing.
And
I'm
she
healthy.
walked in here with high heels and a beautiful dress, and she's got legs to die for. I'm serious.
Thank you,
I mean,
Elizabeth.
she's 74. A lot of people out there are, confined to
wheelchairs,
wheelchairs
or walkers, and this is what I want to get them out of, away from. And in fact, in my arthritis program, I do have people who do come in walkers. And I get them to stand up, and I get them to exercise, and it's amazing the progress that they make. It's truly amazing, and they're so proud of themselves because they walked in and they weren't sure that they could do anything, and they can do it. They can do it to their ability, and they feel better.
Now, what do you think is the greatest barrier for somebody to continuing exercise or even to start exercise, as they age?
Well, the greatest barrier is the perception that I'm old and I can't do this, and why bother? I'm just going to get old, and I'll be old like, my grandpa was, and I'll stay home and I'll die. Well, that isn't the kind of life that I want to lead or that I want my students to lead. So the biggest barrier is themselves. They just have to get motivated to get out there. So how do they get motivated? You have to find out what kind of a person you are. Are you a social animal, or do you like to do things on your own? If you're a social animal, the best thing to do is join a class. Meet other people. And this helps you in many ways, not only physically, but it helps you emotionally, spiritually. It helps you, it's a social activity, and you get to know other people. So this is so fabulous because I see these friendships forming in my classes. People who never knew each other, it's fabulous. They get to know each other, they go out to coffee, they go out to lunch. And I have to tell you this because I am 74 years old. I have lost my husband. And other people in my class have lost their significant other. And this is a very big thing when people get older. When you lose your significant other, the tendency is to sit home and do nothing.
And get very depressed.
Very
right?
depressed, exactly. So going out and motivating yourself and getting with other people who will motivate you and get you is a very, very good thing for depression, for anxiety, and it's just wonderful. I can't explain how fabulous it is. In fact, I can tell you, one of my students who's in my arthritis class, her name is Nancy. She's been with me now 4 years. The first day that she walked into the class, she was very depressed. She had just lost her husband. She was ill herself. She came to me and says, I don't think I can do this class because I don't feel good and I lost my husband and I'm very depressed. I said, okay, Nancy, you just come on in, you sit down, and whatever you can do, you can do. Do you know 4 years later, she's still there? And she's made friends and she feels better and she looks better. Okay, so it's a mental thing, a spiritual thing. It's a whole program. It isn't just common exercise. Everybody finds a friend, and that's what we need in our life. We need a friend.
You're absolutely
Right.
right.
So,
and I know that,
yeah.
you had talked about,
Yeah.
finding out what your personality is, and if you're
Right,
somebody
right.
who, might be more solitary, or
Right.
maybe they're afraid at first to get
Right,
out,
right.
you have these fabulous videos
Yes.
that you've created. Can you talk about them?
Oh, absolutely. I will be happy to.
Let's see.
It's called It's Never Too Late. This is my program. It's never too late for healthy aging, and that's truly what I believe in. And we have different levels. Now, this is the one I was telling you about, where the arthritis program, all of my students' pictures are on the back, because this was filmed with my students. These are real people. They're not made up people. They're real people.
They're not actors.
They're not actors, exercising and doing their thing. And you can see this lady over here is in a wheelchair.
So right here.
See, she's sitting down
Oh, yeah,
right
she
there.
is.
Yes, and she's doing it.
So I don't know if we can zoom
Yeah.
into that.
Right. So now, as my students advance, and these are older people, I have to tell you, these are a little bit older people, but that shouldn't stop anybody who possibly has a weight problem, who hasn't exercised for a while. They can do this. It's possible to do this. And the music is fun, and there's a whole lot of information on there. You can see my family and my grandkids and see how they interact and relate to Grandma exercising. And this is level 2. And this was also filmed in my class. In level 2, we do everything that we do in level 1 at a little faster pace, plus we add floor work.
Okay.
We do flexibility exercises on the floor, which is a really, really important thing. And I get a lot of people who come to my class and say, well, I can't get on the floor, and I can't get off the floor. I said, well, I will show you. And there's a technique to learning how to do this. To people who are afraid, actually it's fear, to get on the floor and to get up. Oh, I'll never get up off the floor. I say, yes, you will. And they do. And they absolutely do. And again, these are all my students on the back here. This was filmed in my classes. And then I have level 3 if you really want to work hard. All right. And I know you can do it. Again, all my students participated in this. And it's just a
So
fabulous
this is
program.
just like living proof,
It's
that,
living proof.
that it does work. And you'll see in these
It works.
videos that, there
It
are
works.
people that are elderly that are doing this stuff.
And we
so-
have testimonials on every single one of these tapes. Testimonials from people in the class who will tell you the benefits. Cancer survivors, a gentleman with MS. I mean, all kinds of people with all kinds of ailments feeling better because they exercise. That is why I created this program. It's never too late. It is never, never too late for aging, for fitness.
Yeah, and I know that in your class,
Yes.
in your classes, you were
Yes.
saying that you also talk about nutrition and
Yes,
how
we do.
important that is. So
Yes.
you really teach people about the whole gamut, and which is really what
Exactly.
we're teaching here, and that's why we
Exactly.
have you here on the show.
Exactly.
To let people know that no matter what age you are,
Yes.
you can still exercise, and it's very
Right.
important. So Renee, can you share with us an exercise that anyone out there, regardless of their age, might be able to do at home?
Absolutely, because the whole reason for the tapes and everything is to do it at home. Also, I always tell my students, if you're going on vacation, look, this packs. It doesn't have any weight. So here's one for you, Elizabeth.
Oh, thank you. So what do I do with it?
So you have no excuse for
That's
not
right.
exercising.
And I was telling her I went to Spain, and
Yes.
I had started lifting weights before then, and I
Right.
didn't get the chance to continue when I was in
Uh-huh.
Spain because I wasn't going to add that extra
weight.
extra money to my
To your
traveling.
luggage. Right. So this is so simple, and I tell my students every time you go somewhere, just put this in your suitcase. You're in a hotel, arms up, sit up tall, stomach in, pull it out, take it over, take it up, do it again, pull it out, take it over. Make sure you're breathing. And lift, One more time, take it out, reach it over, and lift, and pull it out, and stretch, and lift. That's just a very, very one simple exercise. Put it here in front of your chest, pull it out, turn and look over your shoulder, and come back to the center. Pull it out, turn and look over your shoulder, and come back to the center. There you go. That's 2 exercises you can do on the road. You can do them standing up because you're capable of doing that. Make sure your posture is straight. Pull your stomach into your lower back. I'm really big on that.
Yeah.
I'm really big on that. Shoulders down, stomach into your lower back, and breathe. Breathing. When you breathe, you bring oxygen to your brain, and oxygen builds brain cells. And we don't want to lose our brain cells. No, no, no.
No, no, no.
So,
Well, thank you for that exercise.
oh, you're quite
Deb.
welcome.
So how can
Yes.
people get a hold of you? What's your website?
Oh, my website is www.nevertoolatefitness.com.
Well, thank you so much for being a guest
Thank
on
you.
our show.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
It was a pleasure.
Meditation has a very calming effect on us. And I want to use 2 examples as a way to illustrate that. First, a research study, and the second one of my own experience. Let me start with the research study. What they did, they got a hold of a Tibetan monk who'd been meditating for many, many decades. And they hooked him up to electrical devices and medical devices to see his heart rate, his blood pressure, the typical skin temperature, all those things that relate to stress. And then what happened was, it was really interesting, they put behind him a very loud noise like a firecracker, and they set it off real loud, And normally when a firecracker is put behind you and you don't know what's going to happen there, we jump, we have that startle response. And he'd been meditating for so long that actually he did not have the startle response. Actually, they almost saw no response in him at all. They hooked up his heart rate, found it didn't increase, his blood pressure didn't go up, his skin temperature didn't increase. And so it appears that meditation really has a calming effect on us. And my own experience has really been the same. And if I can just use driving as an example, I live in Los Angeles, and there's a lot of drivers here. We have a lot of freeways. And over the years, as I've been driving, one of the things I've noticed is I just do not experience rude drivers very often. And when I describe it is as, even though obviously they exist, when I have someone in my car with me, they'll have exclamation points about, what that person did and what that person did. And I don't actually even typically feel it. And I think what's happened is this, like my fuse has become much longer as I've meditated. So even though, of course, I can still get upset if the fuse gets short enough, because I meditate every day and actually a couple times a day, it takes a lot more for me to get upset. So it has a very calming effect. When I drive, I just actually enjoy driving, and mostly it's a fairly relaxing experience to me. When there is a rude driver, they just don't seem to bother me. As that with that Tibetan monk, he wasn't bothered by that firecracker. So one of the many benefits of meditation is it truly seems to have a very calming effect on us. And I would encourage you to try it and feel those effects.
Our second question comes all the way from London, England, from Will J. And he writes in, I struggle with my weight and have tried diets but failed. I've been talking with friends and they brought up the idea of emotional eating. I think I might have this problem, but I'm not sure. What would indicate this and what should I do to manage it?
Yeah, there's many aspects to emotional eating, and I think a lot of people out there struggle with it. So, obviously it's a very applicable question to lots of people. But the first thing to think about is, emotional eating means I'm feeling emotion and I'm eating. So what do? You say, what am I feeling right now? Start with that. I love awareness. Be aware of what's going on. And if you're aware of what's going on, you'll find that then all of a sudden you can say, am I eating right now because I'm hungry? My body's crying out to me. It's saying, I'm eating, I'm hungry. Or is it that I'm eating because I'm feeling something, feeling emotion? And usually it's emotion you don't want to feel. So I often use an analogy. It's like if I have a pain here, if I have a pain in my arm, I'll shoot Novocaine into that arm and my pain will go away. Food works the exact same way. I'm feeling emotional pain and I want to get rid of it. So what do? I eat. And that's not very healthy, is it?
Yeah, and sometimes too is what people do is they turn to comfort food, and comfort foods are really like heavy carbohydrates or high sugar, a lot of food that's going to make you gain weight, because it's like it just is heavy and it sits on you, and it almost just puts a layer over those emotions that you're feeling.
Yeah.
And I think a good thing to do sometimes if you know that you're an emotional eater, because as Dr. Puff was saying, awareness is huge with anything that we talk about. Once you have the awareness, it is so important to have that in order to create change. But something that if you know that you usually do that, and you know that you ate just a while ago, maybe try going for a walk. Maybe, try calling up a friend and talking to a friend, just, getting some support. But even exercise is huge because it will help you to kind of dissipate what's going on within. But we still want to encourage you at some point. It's really important to really work on whatever those emotional issues are so you're aware of them, because we don't want you just to suppress them.
And getting back to that, it's like, okay, now you realize I'm having this emotion. And really it's about, I'm upset about the relationship I'm in. I'm not sure if I should stay in it right now. So what do? You say, I eat because I don't want to face these emotions because I want to stay with this person. So instead you say, I'm going to look at these feelings. I'm going to really look at them, consider them, and see what I think. I'll maybe call up a friend, talk to them about it, and express my emotions in a much healthier, better way. And when you do that, what happens is you won't need to eat, because you eat emotionally because you don't want to face these feelings. Mm-hmm. But if you face them, it goes so much better, and then they go away.
It's hard at first, I must say. It's very hard at first to deal with your emotions. I'm not going to lie. It's all those things that you've been pushing away for years. It's hard. It hurts. It's painful. But how much more painful is the fact that we're, pushing it down to the point where you might kill yourself, and it goes both ways too. There are people who undereat or do not eat when they're upset too, and this leads to, either way, it can lead to an eating disorder, and it swings both ways of the pendulum. There's people who overeat and people who just, when they're so upset and hurting, they have like a pit in their stomach and they don't have any desire to eat whatsoever. Either way, it's something that you could potentially die from. You could overeat to the point where, you have a heart attack, or, your body just gives out. It's too much on your organs. And the same thing too. A person who's underweight can actually die of a heart attack. So, it's a life-threatening thing unless you start to really deal with those issues that are causing the problem in the first place.
And I think, too, a really important thing to consider is when we eat, the after effects. What happens is we're typically very hard on ourselves, and we're self-critical, and we say, I'm fat, I'm terrible, I'm a bad person, and that actually adds to the problem. You criticizing yourself makes you do that addictive behavior more and more and more. So the first thing to do, part of the awareness, is saying, what Elizabeth and Dr. Puff are suggesting are stop being so self-critical. And when you overeat, say, well, okay, what can I learn from this? And that's what you do. You say, I overate. What can I learn from this? What was actually going on that made me eat? You understand that, and then you start changing your behavior. You say, oh, I get it. So now I'm going to start working on feeling these feelings. And when I feel like eating, ask myself, am I feeling something inside? Am I feeling something that I need to address? And what can I do? Can I, like Elizabeth said, can I go for a walk? Can I call up a friend? Can I go to the gym? Or can I just talk to the person that I'm feeling these feelings about, make it go away? But the key is, when you overeat, don't be self-critical. Learn from it, grow. But if you criticize yourself, I can almost guarantee you're not going to lose the weight.
We wish you lots of luck, and please continue watching the show, because we have and will continue to have some great guests on the show.
And that reminds me, I forgot. I'm actually writing a book right now on overeating, on how to overcome overeating.
There you go.
So it should be out probably soon. So come back to the bookstore and look, because it's going to be all about how to address overeating, and it has a lot of great tips on it. I'm making it into a CD, so you can listen to it anywhere in the world.
Thank you for your question. This next quote is by Tyne Daly, and a great friend of mine looked up the quote because I always seem to get a little messed up, but I really, really like the quote because I think it's very important. A critic is someone who never actually goes to the battle, yet who afterwards comes out shooting the wounded. I like this quote because, you never know what it's like to be in somebody else's shoes, and until you do, there's really no room to judge. So think about that the next time you judge somebody, and also think about that the next time someone's judging you, because really, do they have any room to judge? Probably not. Thank you for joining us on the Holistic Success Show. If you'd like to participate in the show, please email us your questions. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to our website so that way you can find out more about what we're up to as well as the topics of our upcoming shows.
And if you're a business or have an organization that would like to participate in this show and spread the message around the world, we'd love to have you be part of it and help your business or organization succeed.
To find out more, please visit us at www.theholisticsuccessshow.com. Thank you.